Welcome to Global Perspectives. I am your host, Gaston, and today we'll be having a candid conversation about culture and education with my guest, Jesse Raudales. Jesse, welcome to our show. How are you today?
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm well, thank you. Thanks for asking.
Wonderful. So I got to meet you a few weeks ago, and I was so excited to know about you, and that's why I invited you, because I want you to share with our audience where you're coming from, your education, your struggles. You have a beautiful story to share, and again, when I met you, I was just thrilled, and you gave me the chills. Like, oh wow, I really want you to express this, and share your life with our friends and in the community as well. So please tell me where you're from, where your parents from, what languages do you speak?
Absolutely. Originally, I'm from Wilson, North Carolina. I was born in McAllen, Texas. Moved to Wilson, North Carolina when I was 1 year old because my mother, she crossed the border from Mexico to McAllen, Texas, and she didn't know that she was going to have a premature baby. So I was a premature, stillborn. So I was, first of all, backing up a little bit. When she crossed the border with my grandmother and one of her sisters, she went into labor. She didn't know, because I was a premature. And they wouldn't let her in the hospital, the nurses, because she wasn't an American citizen. And so basically she was going to have me out in the street until one nurse, a black nurse, decided to know, we're going to admit her in the hospital. We're going to let this lady in, and she's going to have her baby here. So I was a stillborn. A stillborn, for those that don't know, is a baby that's pronounced dead. My grandmother and my mother, they're real spiritual, and my aunt. So they immediately began to pray because I was pronounced dead when I was born. They immediately began to pray, and she made a promise with the Lord. And she said, if my baby comes back to life, I'm going to name him Jesus, or Jesus, Guadalupe Raudales. And he will wear clothes like Jesus did until I was 5 years old. This was her promise she made to the Lord. And she pierced my ear, which I don't know what that's about. So I came back to life, so I was a miracle baby. And the doctors told my mother, before they showed me to her, that number one, I would be mentally challenged. I would not be able to walk. I would not be able to speak because my tongue was still connected to the bottom. I wasn't fully developed. And none of that happened. So she kept her promise to the Lord. She made my clothes. I wore burlap robes to kindergarten. So up until I was 5 years old, I had my long hair, a pierced ear, walking in sandals, going to school, because that was her promise to the Lord that she made for me to be here today. And she always reminds me to always make sure to give, the Lord, to pay my respects to him, because he gave me this life, or our second chance, which brings me to my art. As far as back as 4 years old, I can remember just picking up a pencil and just knowing whatever I saw in my mind, I could paint or draw or sketch. So that was the gift that I was given. And I remember always writing my name, my signature, saying, JR, JR. My mother would ask me, why do you keep writing that? I said, because I'm going to be a famous artist one day. I'm going to be the best artist in the world one day, and people are going to purchase and buy my signature, because that's what artists, that's what people buy, the signature of the artist. And so it's an affirmation that I kept, and I continue to do, and put a goal in front of myself and pursue that goal.
Yeah. And your mom said something to you about your signature, right? Like that's going to be valuable one day.
Yeah, she would say, well, first she asked me why did I do it, and I said, because it's going to be worth some money one day. It's going to be valuable. My signature, whatever I paint or draw or create, my signature is going to be worth some money one day.
And did she support you from the get-go?
She supported, yes.
Embrace
my mother supported me.
Interest in arts?
Yes, always. She's always told me to make sure to give the glory to God, because he gave me this gift and this talent, and to never forget that. So yes, she did. She's always supported me.
So you were interested in the arts at early age, 4 years old. And that never stopped. Obviously, you are a great artist now, and I want to get there. So I want everybody to know who you are and how do you get here.
Right.
But so tell me about your education. Was it bilingual education when you live in different states, because you moved from one state to another state? How was your bilingualism when it came to education? Was it only English, or was it bilingual? How was the second language, or the mother tongue at home, which is your first language, but in some cases becomes the second language because English is your major or number one language. So tell me about that.
Yes, I speak Spanglish.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
Yes, meaning I understand a lot more than I could speak in Spanish, because at home, my mother, she would speak Spanish to us. But when we went out to school and in the community, it was English. So English was the first language that we learned, like a lot of Latinos that, come over. English, you have to learn English. But when you go home, your mother, your grandparents, everybody, they talk to you in Spanish. They don't, because of the lack of, they don't know English as well. So I remember growing up, my sister and I have an older sister, and we would translate everything for my mom. We had to go to the school, to the hospital. If we had to go to the grocery store, everything we translated for my mother growing up. And I moved to Wilson, North Carolina when I was 1 year old, because my mother and father, they traveled with the farmers. So if there was corn being picked in New York, we went to New York, and then we'd go back to Florida where they picked oranges, and we went to North Carolina when there was tobacco. So, and we stayed like in different farmhouses. And when she got to North Carolina, are you familiar with Bridgestone or Firestone?
No.
The big tire company. Bridgestone, Firestone.
Oh yes,
they
yes,
make all of
yes,
this.
I do.
So there's a plant in Wilson, North Carolina.
Okay.
And her and my father ended up getting a job there, and that's where we stayed, because the employment was year round, and they didn't have to, go anywhere and chase a job, a seasonal job.
So you have to be moving.
Right. So
every
I ended
few
up
months or so.
Stayed in Wilson, North Carolina. Grew up, went to school there, graduated high school, and painted murals and all kinds of stuff. Got into the arts deep. Got a scholarship to go to art school in Atlanta. So I went to art school with the help of Mr. Roger Taylor, who was my mentor in the high school. He helped me get because my parents didn't have money to send me to college. Yeah. So I got a scholarship to go to the Arts Institute of Atlanta, made straight A's, went there. Middle of the year, I got called into the office, and they said, you know what, Jesse, we apologize, but the first thing to go when there needs to be cuts is the arts. So they said, unless you have $80,000, you can't, continue to go to school here anymore. So I had a choice, to either quit or give up or go back to North Carolina, find a job. But I was sending out some of my art some of my art designs to California to a friend out there, and I would see my art on people, the clothing and stuff, and my designs on TV, on videos. Huh. Well, I wasn't getting paid for it, but I said,
but it was your art.
It was my art. So and it was like back then it was MC Hammer and different rappers and stuff, and so I ended up saying, you know what, I'm not gonna give up. I'm just made for this. So I got me a bus ticket, went to Los Angeles. I just knew my friend that was out there, didn't really know anybody else, and
all by yourself.
All by myself.
A new journey.
On my journey, and it was a 5-day ride on the bus. Yeah. So I'm on the bus, and I'm explaining to everybody, I'm going to be this famous artist. I'm going to be this huge artist, and I'm going to LA. And
your dream was still there.
I'm talking to all these strangers on the bus, and by the time I got to LA, I got off the bus. Everybody said, "Give me your signature." So I was giving them my signature, getting off the bus, and they were like, wishing me well, and they just believed in what I was saying, and I believed in myself.
You have to. You must believe in yourself.
You fast forward to 2005, became the first Latino Olympic artist to represent the United States, and that kind of like just turned my whole world around.
How do you get into that? Who discovered you? Who said, okay, we would like Mr. Jesse to be part of these Olympics? I mean, just explain that. I learned so much about you a few weeks ago, and I'm just excited to hear more.
Definitely, yes.
About that story.
First of all, I didn't know, so don't feel bad. A lot of people don't know what an Olympic artist is, but Picasso, Litchfield, Peter Max, Jane Seymour, Ernie Barnes, all of these famous artists are Olympic artists. And the way I became an Olympic artist is when I had, let me back up a little bit. I never intended on having kids. But when I had my child, Jesse, who is the real Jesse Raudales, by the way, it just motivated me and inspired me to do more, to do better. I had a deadbeat dad, so I wanted to be the total opposite. I wanted to be everything for my son that I missed in my childhood. So let me just say that, because that's where it all started. In 2005, I was out, shopping my art and trying to, get known and recognized like other artists, and be at parks and different places and try to show my artwork. And this actor, Miguel Nunez, he bought like 3 of my pieces. And you know him from Joanna Man. He bought 3 of my pieces, and the owner of the Lakers at that time, who's passed away, Jerry Buss, he and Miguel were good friends, and they were having dinner. And they were at this dinner with all these music producers and television producers and, rich, wealthy, actors. And they were talking about their art and what they had. I have a Picasso, I have this, and I have that. And Miguel said, I have a Raudales. And there was somebody there, an attorney from the United States Olympic Committee, and she said, Raudales, who is that? I've never heard of Raudales. So he gave her my information, and she went to my website, and she contacted me. And she called me. She said, you don't know me, but I was having dinner with Dr. Jerry Buss and Miguel Nunez and some other actors, and he gave me your information. I went to your website, and you are absolutely awesome. You have raw talent. You're a really great artist. And I said, thank you. And she said, listen, my job is to spread the word and tell all artists that I meet to at least apply or submit their artwork for each Olympic Games. We have an Olympic game coming up in 2006. And I said, what is that? She explained to me that every Olympic year there's 6 artists selected from all over the world. So you have hundreds of thousands of artists submit their artwork. And there could be an artist selected from China, one from Russia, one from the US, one from, these other different countries.
Yeah.
But there's 6, and their artwork represents each Olympic Games. Had no idea what anything. So she tells me, there's not a chance in the world that you will probably ever get selected, because literally there's just thousands and thousands of artists, and they usually select like the well-established, well-known artists, so they can get money back on their
the renowned names.
Right. Yes. So I said, okay. She said, so with that being said, I encourage you to submit anyway. And it was the Winter Olympics. I know nothing about the Winter Olympics. I watch it sometimes on TV, and I see people skiing, but I've never been skiing. I don't know how to snowboard and all of this stuff. So she said the theme is about peace. So come up with something that reminds you of peace, because we were at war. So the theme that the Olympics wanted to do was create peace. And a backstory with the Olympic Games is, back in the day, if countries were at war and the Olympics came around, everybody ceased and stopped to play the Olympic Games, and then they would go back to their war after the Games.
Right.
So she said, it's about peace. So I did 5 pieces of snowboarding, somebody bobsledding, and somebody skiing. And the last piece, my son was sitting down waiting for me to take him to Chuck E. Cheese. And, he changed my world, being a single dad and having a son. So I did a quick sketch of his face and a dove, which is a universal symbol of peace.
For peace.
Picasso did that too. And I did it really fast and did it on the red piece. And I submitted all those the 6 pieces. Well, a couple of months later, I got a call from her, and she said, "Oh my God, I don't believe this. They like your piece, your painting with the dove and the child's face." And I said, "Oh, that's my son." And she said, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, seriously." So.
And I'm sure the feeling.
Well, I wasn't selected at that time.
No, but I mean, just by getting the compliment.
Yes. So she goes,
the face of your child.
Absolutely. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
So she goes, "Jesse, again, don't get your hopes up, because they have to do like several cuts, and literally there's thousands, but I just want to let you know that they like that piece." Well, you fast forward a couple of months later, I get a call from, and I was actually going to my son's school to give him a surprise birthday party. Right, October 13th, 2005. So I'm going to his school, and one of my friends was actor Tommy Ford, who passed away. he was there. He was going to surprise him and be a special guest. And because I did his children's books, I illustrated his children's books. So I get a call right before I get to the school, and it's the United States Olympic attorney. And he says, Mr. Raudales, is there somewhere we can send you a fax? And I said, well, I'm going to my son's school, and there should probably be a fax machine there. He said, oh, okay, what are you going there for? And I said, it's my son's birthday. And he said, oh, it's your son's birthday today? I said, yes. And then he said, and your piece is of your son, right? Am I correct? And I said, yes, sir. He said, you tell him that his daddy has become an Olympic artist on his birthday with the painting of his son. And I ended up getting my contract from the United States Olympic Committee
that day. Via fax to your son's school.
And it's my son's face who's the Olympic piece.
What a beautiful story. Wow.
Yeah, so.
That's great. So tell me what happened after that. So
okay, so after that, which I don't think you know this part, but you've seen my poster piece for the children. It has the 3 pieces.
And
right?
I have it with your signature.
So the red one,
and I kept it in my office.
That's right. Remember, the red one was the original.
Yeah.
So the United States Olympic Committee had an idea. They said, we want you to paint 2 more pieces, and we're going to call it Peace for the Children of the World. So each one of those pieces are 36 by 36, and they're an original piece. Yeah. So I became the only Olympic artist to have 3 paintings simultaneously in one Olympics.
In one piece.
In one piece as well. So, and each one of those is like $85,000. The Olympic Committee owns it. Another thing that I don't remember if I told you, but I got another call from the attorney, and he said, okay, we're going to need your I think it was $85,000 so that, you know, you can go on tour with your pieces. Right. And I said, I don't have $85,000 to, you know, he said, do you have sponsors? Because what a lot of people don't understand or know is Olympians don't get paid. Not even, you know, our girls, the soccer team won gold several times, and they don't get paid. They had a problem finding sponsorships for just to stay
get there. Right.
Yeah, just to get there. So the only people that get paid are the basketball players, and they don't need the money because they got all this money already. So I said, I don't have the money, so I'm sorry. I probably, you know, I have to turn this down. And he called me back a couple of days later, and he said, this is what we normally do. We give the artist 80% of the proceeds from their artwork that's sold, and we keep 20. Are you willing to allow us to give you 20% and we keep the 80% if you continue to be an Olympic artist because we love your piece so much? I said, sure. I didn't have anything to lose, right? So I said, absolutely, I could do that. And that's part of staying focused and determined and, you know, moving forward with your goals in life. So I signed the contracts we flipped it. And the FBI and Disney, the Epic Center, they all sponsored me to go on tour with my art in the United States.
Wow.
So my art went to Italy and toured for the Olympics, but I didn't go out the country, but I went to the tours in the United States.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Great. So going back a little bit to your education and interest in the arts.
Right.
Specifically drawing and painting.
Yes.
Your parents, they have no clue about arts.
No.
I'm sure. And that is because Hispanic culture doesn't really focus on art. It's more music or more about folklore, I would say, but not really arts.
Right.
How did they support you, or how did they see you when you showed interest in drawing and painting? How did they support you, or what was it that you had to do to convince them that you were in it to win it? Like this is what I'm going to do regardless. Right. I know it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be easy. Struggles, you know what I'm saying? Like how do you convince them to support you, or what was it mom and dad said to you when it came to, okay, we'll give you the extra push?
Right. Okay, so in the Latino community, they always push work hard, get a job, and it doesn't matter about education really.
From the bottom.
As long as you're working somewhere. So they did instill that in me, always work for what I had to, what I wanted.
Right.
So I was never lazy. That's for sure. My mom, she always supported me. I could say she was my biggest supporter growing up, and she would just constantly tell me, okay, baby, you're going to do it. Yes, you can do this. You can do that. You can do whatever it is. Like I remember an example of her support for me. I went to a prom in high school, and I had I designed my date's prom dress, and my mom made it because my mom could sew.
Wow. So you created your own.
I created it, and then I did the whole outline of it and stuff on the paper, and she made it, you know. So
I'd like to see that piece of art.
Yeah. So she made it. Another thing is I was in Taekwondo growing up. I didn't like wearing the regular standard white uniform, so I designed my outfit, and I bought the material because I had a job, and my mom would make it.
Wow.
So she always supported me, and she always told me that, you know,
embrace
you can do whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. So yeah, I would say she was my supporter, my biggest supporter growing up.
That's wonderful. And so, so tell me about now. What is it that you do? Where do you reside? What do you want us to know more about you? Where can we find you?
Absolutely. So after I was in California for over 20-something years, relocated back to North Carolina, and then I found myself here in Bowie, Maryland. My fiance lives here, so in Bowie, so she wasn't moving to North Carolina, she wasn't moving to LA, so I moved here, and that's how I ended up here in the DMV area.
The DMV area.
And it's been going very well for me. I've had an exhibit in Baltimore, I've had 2 exhibits in Annapolis, and my next exhibit will be in DC. And the strange thing is, being in Los Angeles, all these celebrities, actors would come out to my art exhibits because, you know, the Olympics just brings out a whole, you know, everybody wants to be part of the event or part of the exhibit.
Yes.
I've had Jermaine Jackson, Terrence
Howard.
I
want to ask you, who has shown interest and purchased some of your pieces of art?
I have probably over about 60 celebrities.
That's
from
great.
The late James Brown, the late Rick James, Shaq, Terrence Howard, who's won an Academy Award. You've probably seen him on Empire. He's hosted one of my art exhibits. Jermaine Jackson, Tommy Ford, who was one of my best friends, a biggest supporter, you know, in my art. Who passed away. He owns several of my pieces. Miguel Nunez, Robin Givens, Guy Torrey.
The list
Mel
goes
Jackson.
on and on.
Yeah.
How impressive! I am so
Michael B. Jordan.
Proud of you for that.
Yeah, thank you. So the list is a huge list. It's a lot of this, and they know that, you know, they invest. It's an investment when you purchase an artist's piece of work. So you follow an artist and you gamble on that artist. So they're smart enough to know that they can purchase pieces now, and later on it's going to be probably worth a whole lot more. So.
And so if someone is interested about getting to know more about you, where can they find information about you?
JesseRaudales.com.
Okay.
So again, that's JesseRaudales. So JesseRaudales.com, or they can always Google Olympic artist or Jesse Raudales or Latino artist.
And it will pop up.
Oh yeah, I'll pop up.
Google is amazing. I mean, you just type something and it, you know,
I've been
even
blessed.
a word, you don't have to do the whole phrase or without full name.
Right.
In some cases.
Let me just say that being part of the Olympic family has really catapulted my art career, because without that title, I would probably be selling art, you know, at group showings at the park, or just struggling.
Things happen for a reason,
Yes.
Jesse. Things happen for a reason. And so one of the things that I would like for you to share with our audience is, what is the advice? You know, what is the, because you got support from your parents, and your mom fully supported you from drawing, from creating your own clothing, or you know, things to wear and beyond.
Right.
What advice would you give to parents when it comes to their children finding interest or finding passion about arts, and you know, something that it will be very interesting to the student? What is your advice to parents?
I would say listen to your children and support them 100%, because you know you don't want to crush your child's dreams.
Right.
You know their dreams may have been crushed by their parents, but don't you know, stop the cycle and allow them to express themselves, because art is an expression, whether it's music, art, or whatever. Statistics show that kids that go to art school or take up arts, whether it's music or drama, that their graduation rate is higher and they go to college more. So they get to express themselves more instead of keeping it bottled up on the inside.
Yeah.
So I would say support your child in whatever it is that they want to do, especially in the arts, because it's only a way of expressing
We need more
themselves.
artists in the world.
Yes, we do.
What is your advice to our students?
To your students is change your mindset, you can change your world. I tell that to everybody. You can do whatever it is you want to do once you change your mindset. Stop allowing negativity and people telling you that you can't do something. Because a lot of times you hear that at home more than anywhere else. You can't do this, you can't do that.
Right.
Can't is just a 4-letter word. That's all it is. Once you realize that, you can do whatever it is that you want to in life, because the mind is a powerful thing.
It is. It is.
You know.
It is. It's true. And so thank you for your advice. Thank
Absolutely.
you for your words. I mean, it's just a remarkable story, and I'm sure that our audience will fall in love with you and
Thank
your
you.
art. I would like for, when you get a moment, reach him out or find him on Google or just search him, jesseRaudales.com. And before we go, I would love to share this quote with you. A picture is a poem without words, by Horace. Until next time.